Sandra, since we've got you talking about this, we were discussing about the Crown Act. Do you want to share a little bit about that? I think that's so fascinating.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest issues, and you all have brought it up so eloquently, is the fact that you can be discriminated against based on this. So it's not just about personal preference. Maybe my coworker didn't care for my hair color, but that maybe my boss might have the ability to fire me or not hire me based on how I present my hair on a particular day of the week. And so there are these anti-hair discrimination laws that are now passed in 4 states. It's called the Crown Act, and they're working on an initiative to get it passed in more states to protect people, any person, but certainly it applies massively to Black people, to be able to wear their hair however they see fit, however it grows out of their head, or however they style it, and to not be inadvertently affected in their workplace, not penalized, told to go home, changed it, said that it's too big, whatever those other phrases or comments are. And I think it's a really powerful thing. I think it's kind of ridiculous that it needs to be a legislation at this point, because why? But it does, right? Because it's meant to protect people from being able to be harmed by this. And I have had, unfortunately, white and Black people in the workplace scrutinize me around my hair, and unfortunately, mostly Black. And that's a result, honestly, of being able to have that passed down to say, well, we want to hold the highest professional standard, right? And so you're out of line with that standard. And I have been adversely affected. I wasn't given a promotion because they did, from a conservative Black company, because they didn't feel like I would fit in. They didn't feel like I could go and talk to the VPs and that kind of thing, even though, of course, I can hold the conversation. It was the appearance. And so those types of things, that's discrimination. Anything that is not, as y'all have talked about, based on the quality of my work that's being used to decide about my livelihood is discriminatory. So I'm all for the Crown. And I think that that's a really important way to stand up for a lot of, professionals, but also our kids. Yes. I don't know if y'all saw the video last year where the young man who was wrestling, based on, he had locks in his hair.
So sad.
And based on the referee saying, well, your hair is inappropriate to compete, he sat on the sidelines of this wrestling match while they cut this baby's hair off. He's about 15 years old, until he's bald, so that he could compete, because they told him, if you do not cut your hair, you cannot compete in this competition. And he was the best, and he won, but he was in tears. This 15-year-old Black boy in tears, crying, because in order for him to get considered for the scholarships for the division he's in, he literally had to, in front of 200 people, get his hair cut off. For what? And it's still not really clear why, but that's discrimination, right? And so when we have it in the workplace, it trickles down into education, which is my sector, in education and nonprofit universities. And then it trickles down into what we teach in the K through 12 system. Well, we're sending girls home from school because she had blue braids twisted in her hair. And that's not considered, you can't say professional, but it's not considered appropriate. By what standard? Is it blocking her from studying? I'm not clear about the problem. But what we're saying is that Black women and their expressiveness, and Black boys in that particular instance, your body is a problem. And so whenever you deviate from that, we want to, take away from it. And the Crown Act is one effort to sort of quelch that.
I'm grateful for that. I'm surprised that it's only 4 states that have that.
And they don't want to do it. The other states it's been proposed to, they're just like, no, because it would mean literally changing state law and policies around workplaces. And these corporations, they like how they have set things. They like the dress codes and other things that are, a part of their standards, and they don't want to change those standards and practices.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I also feel that they don't want to change that, because that is another tool, to use to be able to weed us out legally. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the rule that you knew beforehand. If you, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to deviate from it. We don't, particularly want to hire a lot of you guys. We're trying to stick with the, affirmative action here. But if you step outside of this, then we have that right to use that to remove you. So it's another way of keeping, a group of people in line, because I don't see a lot of that. There's not a lot of other races having to worry about their hair. Particularly, we have the most diverse hair because we can have all of their hair and still be African American, So,
Right.
I'm just saying. I just feel like they don't want to change it because they're trying to legally keep as many legal discriminations as possible.
Well, then because it's not about hair, it becomes about power. And that's the bottom line.
And that's what I was going to say. They always try to find a way to police our blackness. Our blackness has always been weaponized. So it just comes in different forms, whether it's literally police brutality on the streets or in the professional workplace and in the education sector. Literally from kindergarten, you can start seeing the discriminatory practices, and all the way until you're trying to, get the job or get the mortgage, the loans and things like that. So it's just another form of policing Black bodies, and we need that legislation. So I'm really proud of the Crown Act myself, but there's also things that we can do outside of legislation about as it relates to empowering ourselves to first know who we are, because like you said, usually a lot of times you see Black people who are the ones policing you as well, but they're holding you to a standard of their like respectability politics. And so we just have to just reimagine ourselves and know that we're enough. And we just have to, begin to do that work. And in the beauty sector, the different things that all of you lovely ladies are involved in is always so important, because that is, I feel like, where it starts when you're a young girl and you're seeing your mom or just different women figures. We have to hold our power and our beauty and know that we are enough. But when we want to, accentuate ourselves and change things up, we can do that. But we know that, at our core, there's nothing wrong with us, and to allow, the outside to come in and tell us differently, we have to just keep fighting that. And so I love being able to see all these Black beauties in ownership, because then you'll have the beauty industry telling you one thing, but it's a different story when we're changing our own narrative and we're owning our own products and marketing and doing all those different, and the messaging that's going out to Black girls and women.